This is the Film Geeks podcast.
Welcome back to yet another edition of the Film Geeks podcast. Here you are with me, Abhishek. Joining me, as always, are Arindam and Anirban. So, how are you guys doing? I know Anirban has been traveling a lot, and Arindam also had to go through a hero's journey to watch Lego Batman. So, I hope all of you guys are back in one shape for this review.
Yeah, it was John Wick, but it was well worth all the trials and tribulations.
I'm piecing myself together, man.
We are being drawn into a false sense of relief because all of the movies which are coming out now or have already come out, like the movies which we're anticipating, like Split, which has got like amazing reviews, John Wick, like we will talk about, Lego Batman, even A Cure for Wellness, for that matter, have got extremely good reviews. So that is, I'm a little wary about that we are being drawn into a false sense of security, so as to say, that this year might be a very good year for at least the movies that we are interested in.
Even Logan, it's been taken as one of the best, so I'm really looking forward to that as well.
I like the previous Logan too, the James Mangold version.
The previous in Wolverine, right? I love that.
Except for the third act, which kind of fell apart with the Silver Samurai and all of that. I thought that they would stick to the original, but can't get them all. And it was a very good movie, especially out of Fox, And speaking about things which will really, really excite us in the near future. Yeah, so Castle Rock is, for the people who are listening right now and are not familiar with the Stephen King's works, most of Stephen King's work, in fact, all of Stephen King's works are based on Maine. That is his hometown, that is he's grown up in. And some of the stories are based on Castle Rock. So what's going to happen in this is he's collaborating again with J.J. Abrams, like he did with 11/22/63. One of the best miniseries I watched last year. You guys should definitely go and check that out. So Stephen King is teaming up with executive producer J.J. Abrams for a still mysterious Hulu anthology series dubbed Castle Rock, and the teaser makes it look like all of King's nightmares are coming out to play. Alright, this 1-minute teaser video, which was released on Friday, keeps all his secrets very close to the vest, like we've come to know from every J.J. Abrams production, but flash character names such as Danny Torrance, locations such as Shawshank State Prison, and lines such as Red Drum from King's horror classics set a very, very chilling tone. Castle Rock, of course, is one of the main towns that often appear in Stephen King's fiction. King and Abrams previously also have worked for Hulu in 11/22/63, which involved a lot of time travel and a lot of conspiracy theories. So are you guys excited for this?
I think when it comes to Stephen King, I've said this before, that not many work that has been done around his books have done justice to his work, and that is something that has been changing in the recent past, and I hope that is something that is recreated with this project. Of course, it has J.J. Abrams attached to it, which is all like you're pointing towards it being a good thing. So let's hope for the best, man.
You and me, I am really excited for this. Like the moment I saw this, I tagged you guys in it and I shared it in the group as well. And it was like I loved what they're doing with it. Hopefully, I'm not sure what they're gonna do because it's going to be standalone episodes in all probability. But some of them, like they showed Shawshank. I don't know how they can just condense all that into a 40-minute episode. So what I think is that they are going to just base stories around the same mythology that they have. Maybe change the stories completely. I don't think it's going to be a straight adaptation, but that's only speculation from my part. But I'm really excited for what they've shown us. I loved 11/22/63. Maybe the ending could have, paced itself better, but I liked it overall. So I'm really excited for this.
I don't think it's going to be, like you said, a standard on episodes. I think it's going to be a modern day retelling, and I think these iconic characters like Dolores Claiborne or maybe even a Carrie or Danny Torrance or a Jack Torrance, they will run into each other as the show goes on. And that being said, his entire mythology will be created something around that. I'm not doing a lot of justice to it, but I think this will be a whole new universe. It will be completely different from what these characters will have their basis in the books, but their story will be retold. That's what I feel, and that is something which I would want to watch.
So interesting thing, I've just seen that the man who loved Tom Gordon is also here in this universe. This is one of the most unique Stephen King novels, I feel. because it is a total antithesis of what he stands for. It's just about this little girl who survives this crash in the jungles and then makes it out after a grueling 20, 30 days of going through that jungle. And all she has to survive is her love for this football guy. And when I say football, I mean American football, not soccer. And all she has is this love for this guy who's called Tom Gordon, and that's what keeps her alive. So it's very interesting to see that even this is in this universe, Castle Rock universe.
There's one story that I'm really looking forward to. I don't know if this is going to be developed, and also with the the political ramblings about it, I'm not sure that it will even be adapted. It's called Rage. It's one of the stories that Stephen King regrets writing. And as I say this, I probably realize that he will never touch it. It's upon a school shooting. It's like the story says, it's about rage and how this was all before this trend for school shootings started. And this is one of the darkest pieces of short stories that was written by King himself, and till date, because it was banned then, it has not come out till now in publication form henceforth. So I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure they won't do it, but if they do it, I'm gonna love watching it.
This is a topic that needs to be shown and have greater audience. This is needs to be told. I mean, movies like Columbine gets its blacklisted for some reason that these are controversial movies and they should not be shown to children. But the fact remains that these actually show the reality of what happens in countries that do not have effective gun control. Guess where? Children don't shoot other children in India, where they have good gun control. Guess why it doesn't happen? In Japan. And this is why does it happen in the US per se? Because because these guys don't have good gun control. Until the time your stuff like this gets shown and made, I don't think it's going to decrease the number of deaths due to shootings in schools. And so I think it's an important topic that needs to be told, and this needs to be there in this universe.
I guess, yeah, even Stephen King, I think he should get, that property back to him because it was negatively attached. I think one of the shooters had rage in his backpack, and that was the reason why the controversy was created. So I really think, he should get that property back, and it should be a reason, there should be a reason why it exists, and gun control would be a perfect opportunity to showcase that.
When you speak about gun control, one of the favorite things of over the past couple of years has been this Joe Rogan tweet, okay, and it's pinned to his profile. If you go to Joe Rogan on Twitter, he says this country, that is the US, has a mental health problem disguised as a gun problem and a tyranny problem disguised as a security problem. It sums up beautifully everything which is going right and going wrong. We are no one to comment, but just saying that that everything which is happening in the world right now, especially in the US. And I would just like to point out that Rage was actually published in 1977, but it was not published under Stephen King. It was published under Richard Bachman.
Bachman, correct.
And I think at home, I think we have a copy of that. It's under the Bachman books. I think it's because I have read this. I have read this story. It's one of the most harrowing things I've read. It was published in 1977. He has obviously expressed regret after writing the thing, and he has after writing the novella, and he has come out with an essay called Guns, an anti-firearms violence essay, which was published in 2013. I highly recommend you guys go and check both of them out. One is called Rage. If you'll get it in the omnibus, the Bachman books. It was republished in the 1990s. And he has also written an anti-firearms violence essay called Guns. So moving on from guns, and it's a perfect segue to a movie which uses guns and uses them beautifully. Let's move on and talk about John Wick Chapter 2. John Wick Chapter 2, directed by Chad Stahelski. You guys have watched it. What did you think about it?
This was a perfect movie that showcased that how world building should be done. I don't think I have seen world building like this in an action franchise ever. it was so cool. There are talks of a TV show about John Wick coming out. And first, I thought when we first heard the news, obviously it would be like, why are they milking this property? But after seeing John Wick 2, I want to know more about this world. It was so well written. It was so well established. There were these rules, and they abided by the rules. And I just loved whatever they were doing. And the one of the best things about John Wick is that they do not use those conventional movie studio sets. They show us those locations, those real life locations, and it is shot wide. It is beautiful to look at. The first scene itself, with the car and everything, and they show the cityscape. It's one action movie that you would want to watch in theater. It is so well done. And then again, like I spoke about last week, they have those static cams and they let the actions play out. And this was perfect showcase as well when he retrieves his cars. I had almost forgotten that, he did not go after his car. And then when he just went after those guys, and because the car was in their inventory, I was like, this guy is the most materialistic, anti-hero of all time. Is he just going to change his property all the while? And then his house blows up, of course, and I was like, oh no, we're back to this again. But after that, they played it wonderfully, and I was glad that they didn't shoot the dog this time. So that was well done. And also, of course, the fight choreography was out of this world. I think Raid 2 was the last movie in which I saw something this well done, especially the train sequence with Common. And Common played a great role. I loved how he acted. He normally does not have very well written roles. He just has one-liners to act as the cool black guy. But over here, they were played as equals. So I really like that. And talking about that train sequence, I think Raid 2 also had a very similar fight scene with Hammer Girl. So this was really well done. That entire sequence in the sarcophagus, sort of thing, in the catacombs. Sorry, they had some pretty amazing. There were two long shots, I guess, if I'm not missing any. Which was a showcase into how well they had the entire thing mapped out. Ever since True Detective season 4, I don't think we've seen a fight sequence that well done in the movie theaters. Of course, I'm not counting Daredevil because we see it in the small screen. There are complaints of females being underrepresented, like
Max Landis.
Max Landis had tweeted out. But sometimes you just need cool characters. You need to see beyond that perspective. Also, it was very funny that they had one female and she didn't talk. So that is quite funny. Okay, well, I'll add more to it. Anir, let's have your thoughts on that first.
So that's actually pretty interesting. I'm not going to disagree on any of those points. So, fight choreography in this movie was brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. The shot selection in each frame, it's so well done that you just remain glued to the screen all the time. You don't want to look away because you feel like you're going to miss something. It's something that has taken the, now I have to call it a franchisee now because it's moved beyond the one shot territory, and it's moved into this category where you pick up these movies and you try to improve upon them, and that doesn't usually happen. And funnily enough, he has been in one of those trilogies where it picked up on a fantastic first movie, The Matrix, and then sort of tried to make it bigger, better, and faster, but did not actually succeed in the same way that it did with The Matrix. Now, a lot of these apprehensions I was carrying on to John Wick 2. How would they be able to do it and make it bigger, better? And they surprised me to no ends by the amount of detail they have put into. They have successfully made it bigger and better. The fight scenes look amazing. Now, this does bring us to a very interesting thing. Now, with all this universe building, again, that point that I just made about where do we take it from here? That question that always result in obviously a bigger budget and you sort of going away from your original vision, which is what I'm really afraid of. And they have achieved what they set out to do with the second movie. Now we know, not to give away any spoilers, but it's obvious that there is a third movie in the works. Now, I'm afraid that they're going to try to make it even better and maybe spoil it. I hope not, because if the second chapter is any indication, it's going to be even better. But fingers crossed.
I see. I share your cynicism as well. Okay, I mean, I completely understand where you're coming from because we've been burnt from things like this before as well. Many sequels, in fact, have just gone down the drain because of a substandard third film, and obviously the cash in and the fourth film. Look at where Taken has gone. Taken 1 was so good, and then it just went to shit. Matrix was similar. I mean, you can just name movies like that. Pirates of the Caribbean, the Bourne movies, Iron Man, Shrek, Hangover. Despicable Me, for God's sake. These movies were such amazing standalone films, and then they try to make more films like them, and they try to replicate what they did, which worked in the first film. But I think what separates John Wick from the other movies such as this is John Wick is actually building on what has already been set. You know, it's different. Whatever you're getting, and the only movie I think, in my estimation, which has done that in action, not sci-fi, but in action, is Terminator. I think Terminator set out a beautiful world in Terminator 1 in 1984, and then in 1990, when Terminator 2 came out, it just built on that, and everything else is just a derivation of Terminator 2, and that's why the Terminator movies are failing. I think Chad Stahelski is a stunt guy. He is an action guy. He knows exactly what will work, and that's the only reason why John Wick, John Wick 3, Burning Wick, will definitely work. I'm sorry, that joke was like really bad, but yeah. But yeah, that's the only reason, I guess, why John Wick 3 might just work. And I just have a question to the both of y'all. Remember the Bowery King, Lawrence Fishburne? Remember that entire conversation he has with Lawrence Fishburne? Can you guys not fit that exactly into the Matrix?
Yeah.
Even I was thinking, any moment he'll be offering up the red or the blue pill. It sounded exactly like something from out of that.
The entire context, you can just take it out and put it in the Matrix.
Right.
Like you
They
showed
knew
me the
them
way
enough.
I've waited for you to come. You have showed me the path and all of that. And even John Wick doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. So, and then he sees, oh, okay, that's what you mean. All right, fine, yeah.
That totally was deliberate.
That was deliberate.
I think
It was not something
I mean,
that
just the
they paid it.
just the references alone,
Yeah. They cast him just because they wanted to just give that small Easter egg here. They cast Fishburne just because of that.
I think this was one of the best done slapstick comedies in quite some time. They used physical humor in such a beautiful way. Remember that part in which he slams a guy using a car? That was totally out of the blue, but it was really funny. There were quite a few pieces like this. Also, there was the scene in which he takes that gun against a guy, and he runs out of bullets, and then
Yeah.
he refills and then shoots him. These are very funny, dark, funny stuff. So and also, is everyone in this world an assassin? Remember that part in the end? That was a bit weird in the park where everyone stops, and also there's no repercussions in this world. You can have a shootout. Also, there was this very funny scene when they were keeping on shooting each other in the metro while they were going on.
in the subway station.
Right. It was really, really funny.
This was like watching Dabang or something like that. I was really surprised. I had watched Lego Batman, more of that later, but I had watched Lego Batman in a completely empty theater, apart from a family which was watching. I was watching on the top floor and they were watching below me. But the entire, I had watched that in an empty theater. And in John Wick, the entire auditorium or the theater was completely packed to the rafters. But as soon as John Wick said something, or as soon as he entered, there were just thunderous applause. This was like something I did not expect. When I heard about this film in the first time, this is something which has taken people by surprise, and it's all for the good, and I really hope that they build on this world. And talking about world building, who out here are in for a Continental miniseries? A series based on the hotel. That is something I would really want to watch. Maybe probably have Netflix on that, or probably even HBO or Hulu, and have a show completely based on the hotel.
I think we're getting that with the John Wick prequel series, which will trace this origin. So I'm pretty sure we'll get more of that. And there were some very neat little things that they put in, the markers, etc., which were
Yeah.
like I said about the world building. It is going to be a very interesting thing what they are going to do with number two. Also, did anyone get Empire Strikes Back feel from this towards the end, especially like
Right,
the villain
right at the end.
right at the end? Yeah, there was. I got this very similar vibe because even over there the villains had won and it was ending on a very dark note.
I think you should explain in a trilogy what an Empire Strikes Back is.
Whenever a sequel comes out and they're trying to hype it, they always call it the Empire Strikes Back of sequels because this was considered to be the movie, not even Godfather 2, this was the movie which surpassed the original. Because when you compare Godfather 1 and 2, they always say that no, Godfather 1 is always better. There'll be some people who say that. But Empire Strikes Back 2 clearly is better than The New Hope. Could ever be. So when they compare these two things, and also Empire Strikes Back ends with a very dark note. The heroes have lost, and there are insurmountable odds against them. So there was a very similar vibe to this, and also the reason why I don't think that part 3 for John Wick will fail is because they clearly have it mapped out. They knew what they were going in, trying for with the entire story for John Wick 2, and they had clearly established lines what they were going to do, what they were not going to do, and I don't think we are going to be disappointed with John Wick 3 because part 2 is where the action franchises die, most of them anyway. But ever since Terminator 2 and in Hollywood, I don't think we have seen an action sequel done this well. I have another little theory. Just tell me if it's correct or not. The last time we saw stationary items being used to murder people, it was with assassins involved as well. It was on a movie called Gross Point Blank. Do you think it's in the same universe?
For fuck's sake, here you go again, man.
No, man.
Every fucking episode.
No, okay, see, Gross Point Blank had such similar things, man. There's like hitmans everywhere, and there's a very nice network like they showed over here with the Suicide Girls, passing the messages and using those old Foxtran machines to send in communications. So it was like fucking awesome. So I'm pretty sure, Gross Point Blank has to be in this universe.
Yeah, and another thing about the Gross Point Blank are the suits, dude. Amazing.
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking sharp suits. And I would love to watch John Cusack in this universe. Anirban, would you not like to watch John Cusack in this universe?
Yes, John Cusack from Gross Point Blank. Yes, I would. Like that guy, he has done so many good movies in the past, and then suddenly I don't know what happened to him, man. His career went into this whole tangential curve where he just started doing shitty movies. I just used to love that guy. And Gross Point Blank is a perfect example of movies that just take you by surprise, right? You've seen that movie, and it's just such a funny take on assassins, and it's just one of those movies that you can bring your girl and watch with her, and they're going to love that too. Now, when it comes down to it, I would love to see John Cusack in this universe.
Man, especially the end, remember with the TVs and everything. And even if I went back and I just saw the last scene in which he kills with the pen.
Yeah.
There were all those moves, those judo moves, and he has him in a weird MMA moves, and he kills that person in the same manner, So it's very, I just desperately want that to happen. So that was my thing on that.
I just have one final thing to ask you all before we move on to Lego Batman, and that is, as of now, Chad Stahelski's next work would be a movie called Triple Threat, and it would star Tony Jaa, Tiger Cher, and Iko Uwais. This will be an all-out action fest. This will be straight out of the 80s, Hong Kong action, John Woo inspired martial archery. But this being said, all the rage currently and over the next 5 years as well are superhero movies, are reboots and sequels. What is an ongoing franchise which you would want Chad Stahelski to helm?
That's an interesting one. I think when it comes to action trilogies, and I won't count the fourth movie in this one, but I think the Bourne series was really amazing. The Ultimatum movie, it actually, for me, was the perfect way to end that trilogy. They went ahead and made those fourth and fifth movies, but I think it needs to be capped up with Stahelski bringing back all those because it fits in there. It doesn't have to be Matt Damon's per se, but I would love to see Matt Damon also back, and that's a story that needs to be capped off perfectly because they have gone ahead and ruined those movies. The perfect story that was there, they have gone ahead and made it into something trying to cash in on that franchisee. I think they need to restore some balance to the order.
I really want him to helm Suicide Squad because he showed with John Wick that you do not need the strongest of plots, and it has to be very linear. Start from point A, go to point B, but the execution matters, and he showed with both the John Wick movies that he's very capable of doing that. And using the characters that he has, if he just uses the same thing in Suicide Squad, I think we'll get a very good Assault on Arkham maybe.
I would not give any director, even if it's Steven fucking Spielberg, anything like a Batman vs Superman or a Suicide Squad, because these properties have been burnt. Okay, these properties, at least for me, are beyond redemption. But sticking to DC, I would love to watch a Nightwing film, starring Keanu Reeves as Nightwing, of course. A Nightwing film, why not have the Grayson storyline, where he's a super spy? That would fit in exactly to what he is good at. If he is good at making such great hand-to-hand combat action films, make a Nightwing film, make a Grayson film. This is something which I'm really interested. I would watch the shit out of this movie. This is something I'm really excited for. I really hope that happens. Because I don't want him to take over a universe which already has superheroes. Give him someone who is more ground level. Like if you ask me if there has to be a Marvel movie, I would love for him to direct Punisher. Someone who is ground level, who understands urban combat. That is something which he should help.
Yeah, I agree. I think he'll work quite well in a Grayson adaptation. Even a Punisher for that matter. I hope Netflix gets him for an episode at least.
You've all seen that shot, right? With Punisher and the Jack Daniels bottle, right? If Deadpool was made based on a video just like that, I don't understand why Punisher didn't get as much love from the studios, because obviously it has a lot of potential when it comes to pandering to the desires that everybody has, and which is to see people get punished, and with Stahelski, I think you have made a very interesting proposition, and then I think he'll actually do a very good job.
So that being said, and still sticking to DC, let's move on to the light of DC's universe, the centerpiece of their crown, that is the Lego universe. Let's talk Lego Batman. How awesome was Lego Batman, man? Come on, seriously. This movie was so good. This is by far the best Batman movie ever.
Lego Batman was an amazing movie. It's one of the best, if not the best. I'll chuck that. It is the best Batman movie out there. And then Nolan movies be damned. And you'll all agree with me. Well, when we went to watch it, we went in with a lot of expectations, and all of these expectations actually have come to fruition. The references are right there in your face. Sometimes they're very subtle, and sometimes they're all over the wall, and it's right there, the writings on the wall. You don't have to do anything, you just have to see it to understand. The humor in this movie is so dark and yet so apt. I mean, and it captures what Batman is all about. The loneliness of Batman is so perfectly captured, even though it's a humorous, it's a comedy, but the loneliness of Batman is so perfectly captured, and it just goes on to show that when you understand what the universe actually is and what Batman stands for, and you try to make a movie that actually is built around that universe, you can actually make a pretty very, very, very good movie.
with the Batman characterization, I think even in the books for the past few years, it hasn't been this well done. Especially the way that he cares about his family and the reasons why he's a loner. They did not, they are forgetting that in the books, I would say. But in this movie, they captured why that, why we fell in love with Batman, why we care about him so much. Even after all that, he plays an asshole in this movie. I don't think we've seen like this level of blatant, it captures what Batman might have thought in his mind but never showed. But this Batman, he shows it. He beatboxes, he plays these guitar solos while he's saving the world because he knows that he's that damn good. The references especially were just out of this world. I fell in love with it during the first 30 seconds itself, because when they say all movies should start with black and they end with white, and then important logos and everything, and it was just the first few seconds of the movie in which he was basically saying whatever was coming on the screen. It was like watching Mystery Science Theater 3000. It was like that level of humor. It was just humor done right. Also, Arnett has nailed it. I loved how great he was, and also most of the time what happens is that when you change the origins of characters, we complain a lot. But especially me, because I'm a stickler for details, for stuff like that. But over here, they changed the origin of almost everyone. But it was done in such a good way, and they maintained the core characters, and they had written so well. So I had no complaints at all, especially Michael Cera as Robin. That was very, very well done. One problem that I had with the movie is Zach Galifianakis. I don't think he got the character of Joker right. He was nuanced. I don't think Joker should be nuanced in that manner. He was very mild. I wanted him to be a little more wild, but I just didn't see that. The other characters were like perfect. There's also one major complaint that I have. You have Ralph Fiennes playing Alfred. You have Voldemort in the movie. Why didn't you have the actual actor voice Voldemort? They had Eddie Izzard. They had Eddie Izzard voicing Voldemort. That was fucking stupid, man. I don't know why you would do that. They had these very minor things. Making villains fight villains. That's a stupid idea. But then at the end they show how it should be done right. And then also the shark.
I think that was a giant fuck you. That was a giant fuck you to DC.
But in the end, they do show it works. And also there was the shark repellent, which has been the butt of jokes for 50 years now.
Yeah.
But in the end, they even used that. So they used all these little, and then they say, Google this, we know what we're doing. And just tiny little stuff like that. It was endearing. It's the best Batman movie, like I had rightly called it.
I am a huge Batman fan. Like, I'm not one of those people who just jumped on the bandwagon once the Nolan movies came out, probably because I'm a little older. But, growing up, I loved Batman. I got introduced to Batman, the campy Batman, the fucked up 1960s Batman. Not saying that I'm like 50 years old, but because I grew up watching that by watching reruns. And they had some really messed up villains. Like, you had Egghead, people like Crazy Quilt, Polka Dot Man, The Mime, Tarantula, King Tut. And once I watched these shows, I started reading the comic books, and I could never find anything, none of these villains were there. And I was like, what the fuck? Where are these guys? Because my idea about Batman was based on the 60s satire Batman. Right, and then I got into the animated series, and most of except for Condiment Man, I don't think anyone else was a part of that, or probably Man Bat was. But yeah, so they actually ground Batman down right down to, just bring him to ground level. That, boss, you are not the bee's knees, you're not the be all end all. You have your share of fucked up skeletons in the closet, so as to say, and they humanize him, and which is the only way to go with Batman. Humanize the guy. He is not a myth, he is not a legend. Well, he is, but he has his share of fucked up shit which has happened in his storylines over the past 50, 75 years, and they bring it brilliantly brilliantly in Lego in animation form. Especially remember that sequence where they show Master Wayne. Remember your weird 60s phase and your goth 80s phase and your emo 90s phase.
That's probably my favorite scene of the entire movie.
Those things were like so good, and they're subtle fuck yous to DC, both DC and Marvel, where they say like Iron Man sucks, and that's his password, by the way. Like Anir also mentioned, the loneliness of what makes Batman Batman, why he is so emotionally guarded, was also captured beautifully without it being heavy-handed. So 2 thumbs up, best Batman film ever.
I don't think it will, especially with this Batman coming up, everyone will be expecting something like that. They even tried to humanize this Cutler, the machine that because he's a master builder after all, like they showed in the Batman Lego movie. And how surprised were you when you found out, when they go to the Phantom Zone, I thought he would only be bringing Zod. They had everyone over there, King Kong and the monster from that 50s monster movie, and Sauron, of course. They even had Sauron and Voldemort as Batman villains.
They had Blue from Jurassic World, man. They had Blue. They had Blue from Jurassic World. They had Sauron. They had Dracula. They had the Wicked Witch of the East. They had Voldemort. They had Agent Smith. Not 1, 3 Agent Smiths. They had Godzilla. They had King Kong, and they had the
Gremlins.
And did you guys notice this? This is like a small Easter egg, a very funny happenstance. The final scene of both, parts of the final scene of both John Wick and
Lego
Batman are Enter the Dragon.
Right.
Did you guys notice that?
I was just going to mention these 2 things. There were 2 things that I noticed were exactly the same in the third act of both movies. They give a head start. John Wick gets a head start of 1 hour, and the villains in the Lego Batman movie, when they are just, running after helping Batman, they say that we'll catch them, but we'll give you a head start of 30 minutes. And also, of course, the Enter the Dragon sequence in both John Wick and over here. John Wick Enter the Dragon sequence was fucking awesome. That was like some of the best set pieces that I've seen in quite some time. And
that was the best Enter the Dragon sequence since Enter the Dragon. Let's just put it that way. That was the best Enter the Dragon sequence since then. Just the amount of direction was just out of... I just can't wrap my head around the fact how they shot that. Also, Anirban, did you notice this? I know you are a fan of old cartoons like myself and Arindam. The references to the Super Friends cartoon series, the lame Super Friends cartoon series, which you guys can check out online. It's amazing if you're a kid. You had people like Cyborg, obviously, Green Arrow, all of these cookie cutter heroes. But then you had Apache Chief, Wonder Twins, Black Vulcan, and the Wonder Dog who played the DJ. So just these references, man, they were like so many. I absolutely loved this movie. I'll probably watch it again.
This has a high rewatch quality. I was also just want to mention that because every time you will see it, I'm probably sure we'll notice new things as things come along, and even those extensions lists which come out with all the Easter eggs, they will miss a few. Because every scene had, like in the Batcave itself, if you were noticing the tiny monitors, there were like tributes to Heath Ledger and everything. Over there. So it was very, very well done. I can't wait for Lego Batman Part 2. Like, fuck DCEU, this is my DC universe.
That's a good stance to take. I think considering where they're going right now and with all the fuck-ups that is happening with the Batman movie in the works, I think it's a wise decision to change your wagon altogether and hitch it to the Lego Batman universe.
2 favorite parts of my movies. First one was him going to his alone place, or the Fortress of Solitude. As Batman says, his alone place. He goes and hits the calling bell, and you have John Williams' theme play. How awesome is that? I just burst out laughing. Ta, 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 ta. Oh, that's his theme song. And then you have Superman answer the door. And the second part was Alfred shooting Daleks in the face and saying, "Bob's your uncle." Those 2 things, I don't think I've laughed as hard as I have in any movie in a theater, as much as I've had in the Lego Batman movie.
I love the part where Joker is introducing the villains, and I probably think they did not get the rights. And when the Daleks come, they said, ask your geeky friends, ask your nerdy friends who they are. British villains.
British robots.
British robots.
British robots. Ask your nerdy friends about them. So that was really well done, and also about that phases scene was my best. Remember when the the parade was going on where Prince is playing, an amazing callback to the Michael Keaton Batman movie. It is endlessly quotable. I'm probably sure that I might just catch it later this week again because I loved it so much.
My favorite part of the movie was when he defeats Joker for the first time. He goes home and Alfred's busy doing something, so he goes and he microwaves his food, and then he's having crowns one by one, and then suddenly out of nowhere he brings out the guitar and goes into a solo. That part I just had me in this place, man. I said, where did that come from, man?
Jerry Maguire, of course.
That
was Jerry
Jared
Maguire.
Maguire.
And it makes so much sense.
He loves romantic comedies.
Yeah, it makes so much
Yeah, exactly.
sense. It's like Batman, if you're a metalhead, it makes so much sense. You should be a metalhead. If any superhero has to be a metalhead, apart from Punisher, it has to be Batman. Of course, he's there. He's right there.
You can't listen to angry music all the time, Master Bruce.
And then even when they play the shitty poppy music that they say that will make the kids and the studio executives happy. And then he says, it's okay, play that because this fills me with rage as well.
Did you guys notice Richard Cheese and Lounge Against the Machine?
Yeah.
Playing Man on the Mirror.
I actually noticed that, this got spoiled by Richard Cheese himself on his page.
Yeah.
He wrote that, watch out for my cameo. So I would be it would make for a better viewing if I didn't know that. But also, just before this movie, they showed the Ninjago trailer. I was a bit apprehensive about this, but after watching this movie, I'm definitely gonna go watch the Ninjago movie because the Lego franchise is turning out to be one of the better franchises right now. They are very cleverly written. I don't think any other franchises they're aware of what they're doing. Even Marvel, I don't think they have that in themselves.
Anirban, you are hugely into the Japanese and the samurai culture. What is your take on the Lego Ninjago movie?
Let's see. I've seen. So it has a good cast, obviously, and which doesn't really matter because obviously it's just the voice that matters. As we've seen, Will Arnett, you'll never picture him as Batman, but once you put him in this role, he just fits out there. And Ninjago, I'm in the whole thing, the whole Japanese and samurais, but I've never envisioned them in a truly humorous side to things, and I've never envisioned them in that manner in which there is comedy involved. So I don't know what to think of it yet, but I think I'll make up my mind once the movie comes out. Obviously, I'm going to watch it because as things go, I don't think it makes sense to miss any more of Lego movies, and that is something that I'm imploring everybody who hasn't watched this movie to go and watch it because it just, even if you don't get the reference, it doesn't matter because it's just an awesome movie that you're going to laugh your hearts out for sure.
Okay, and just for the uninitiated, the Lego Ninjago movie, it comes out in September of 2017 and stars Dave Franco, Michael Pena, Fred Armisen, Kumail Nanjiani, Zach Woods, A.B. Jacobson, and the big one, Jackie Chan. So this is something which you guys should really, really, really be excited for. I am really excited for this, and as excited as I am to introduce a very new segment for all you listeners out there. This segment is called
Off the Track.
The rules are simple. There are no rules actually. What we will do in this segment is the three of us, and of course in the future episodes, whenever we have guests, we will ask them, other than movies, what else are they watching? So, or reading for that matter, because we also like to read. So let's start with Anirban. What else other than Lego Batman or John Wick or any other TV shows have you been watching or reading?
So I've started 2 TV series. One I've recently completed, and I would actually really suggest that you watch it. It's called Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency.
Yes.
And the first episode itself, the first 30 minutes alone, is just the most complicated storyline build up ever. I mean, you will not get what's happening because there's so much happening in that universe. And by the end, they do tie it up in very nicely, and it's one of the best sci-fi series right now on Netflix, I believe. And obviously it's written by Douglas Adams. It's based on a book by Douglas Adams, and directed by Max Landis, which is it's just very amazing in the way it's also stars Elijah Wood and a few actors who have not bothered finding out the names of, but but it is one of those series that you'll actually get very intrigued and very involved in. And the other one that I'm watching right now, and I wish I had done my research because I was just bored out of my mind, and I was watching, looking for stuff to watch on Netflix, and it just jumped out to me, The Returned. And I wish I had done my research because I got in two
You didn't
episodes.
see the French?
So the French version, as I said, I wish I had done my research. So
Oh man.
so it's based on a French TV series, which is also, I think, called The Return in French. So it's based on this universe where these characters, they had previously died, not all of them at the same time, but they come back to life, and it deals with what happens to the people they were in their lives with. And the problem with this TV series is I'm not going to implore you to watch it because one, this series has been cancelled. Two, it doesn't even have a season finale. Thanks for that.
What the fuck?
Yeah, I told you, man, I wish I had done my research.
And that is the reason why I did not watch. I just watched the pilot for Law Revenant, and I really liked it. It was very dark. It is bleak, and it is not. It's not. It's the exact polar opposite of Dirk Gently, because Dirk Gently is like if a cocaine user takes acid and he decides to make a TV show. That is Dirk Gently. It is extremely fast-paced, maybe more for its own good. I've seen 3 episodes till now, and every episode is getting better than itself. It deals with mental health issues in a really very interesting way, to say the least. Because Max Landis is also an ADHD patient. I think that is one of the reasons why it is so well written. There are 2 shows that I'm watching and I'm loving each episode which is coming out. The first is Riverdale, and it is a modern day retelling of the Archies. And like Abhishek and Anir, I'm not sure if you guys have watched the subsequent episodes after episode 1. It has a very interesting twist, because you guys might be thinking that the problem with Archies is that is the very weird sexual relationship between Miss Grundy and Archies. I will spoil episode 4 for you. And if anyone's listening and wants to avoid spoilers, please skip this segment. You can check it out in the description below. What happens is in episode 4 is that they find out that the original Miss Grundy is dead, and the person who is in her place is a very different person who has escaped and is probably who has killed Jason Blossom, who was the catalyst for the first episode happening. So this is very interesting, and the way it is written, I think it's as good as the Mark Waid comics, which is coming out right now. Another show that just 2 episodes have come right now is Legion. It's by Noah Hawley, the creator of Fargo. It's amazing show on superheroes. I think apart from it is very well on the way. If the first 2 episodes are an indication, it will surpass the Netflix shows and be the best retellings of superheroes on TV ever, even maybe Heroes Season 1. So I would highly recommend that you guys get on the Legion train, because it's really well made.
Apart from Legion, I am watching Legion. I'm also watching Riverdale. And you spoiled the episode 4 reveal for me. Thanks for that. But yeah. But I am watching Riverdale as well, just if not for anything else, just to shit on the show. If I take out my mind from the fact that it is an Archie show, then probably I kind of get it. But if I'm reminded again that if it's Archie, then it takes me a little bit out of it. But apart from that, I'm currently reading this the autobiography of Slash. It has been written by him and Anthony Bozza. So it's an amazing book. If you're a fan of heavy music, hard rock, and you grew up listening to the music in the 80s, you should check it out. It's available on Amazon as well. And apart from that, I'm also reading this book called Revival, and it's funny that you guys mentioned The Return, because Revival has a similar, if not more or less the same storyline. It's by this guy called Tim Seeley, and with art by Mark Norton from Image Comics. It's set in Wisconsin, and Revival follows the aftermath of one day when the dead come back to life and ensuing whatever problems they have. They just come back to life and resume life like they never died. So that's the story. And apart from that, I'm also watching the UFC's Fight Night. I'm really excited for that. Derek Lewis fights Travis Brown, and also our old boy Johnny Hendricks fights Hector Lombard, and Sam Cecilia fights Gavin Tucker, and Elias Theodorou fights Cesar Ferreira. That's one event I'm really excited for.
Actually, do you know Fedor and Mitron isn't happening too?
Yeah, I was really disappointed that Fedor and Mitrione got cancelled, because I was really looking forward to Fedor Emelianenko fighting after like a while, and that too in America. I was really disappointed by that. But then again, that news was kind of equated by the GSP return. Because as you know, your favorite fighter and my favorite fighter are George St. Pierre. So I'm really excited for George St. Pierre. Who do you think he's going to fight?
If it comes down to it, I think the one that has been in the works for a long time is probably Anderson Silva, but I don't think that's happening. I think Bisping is more likely that he'll face Bisping, or either that or Woodley. But it's very sure that he's going to get his title shot in the first fight itself. He's not going to get a warm-up match or anything like that, because that's not the money fight. He's going to get a title shot straight out of the bat.
I agree with that as well. I think if Bisping holds on to his title, which he should, he's playing it very safe. So I think if Bisping holds on to his title, he's fighting Bisping. And mark my words, end of the year or starting of next year, he's fighting Conor McGregor.
That's a little doubtful. I mean, as much as I love Conor, I don't think he's that stupid to go and fight probably one of the best wrestlers that ever was. I mean, and I'm not saying wrestler in the sense decorated wrestler, but in the UFC itself, if there was anybody who knew how to use his wrestling to win games, it is GSP.
That would definitely make a lot of money, and that's where WMG is right now. It's about making money fights. That's the only reason why Frankie Edgar didn't get a title shot. That's why Khabib Nurmagomedov and Tony Ferguson are having an interim fight, because McGregor is not there. So that being said, these are some things that we have been keeping an eye on. A lot of fighting, a lot of reading, a lot of watching a lot of different shows. And just a quick reminder for all of you people out there, you guys can follow us on social media at Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook as well. All you need to do is look up Indian Nerve, at Indian Nerve, everywhere. Look us up, give us a like this video on YouTube, share this video with your friends. It's all for free. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and we will see you guys every Wednesday week. I hope you guys have had a good day, and wherever you are, whenever you guys are listening to, have a great day ahead of you, and we will see you guys again next week.